Welcome to another edition of Helium Hacks Happy Hour. My name is Travis, TT on Discord, and it's nice to have everyone joining us. I hope everyone is having a nice holiday season. If this is your first time on the call, which I'm not sure if we have any first timers here, but oh, okay. Hey, why don't you just? This is a very casual call, so just unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group if you don't mind, man.
Okay, sure. I even took my mask off. That's that informal. Oh, my name is Jerry. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I'm known in the chat rooms as GP, and you can guess where that name came from.
Oh, hey, JP. I was just talking to you earlier today.
My pleasure.
Let's see. Yeah, it's great to have you on the call. I see Maria joined us. I'm glad you could make it into the call. It's nice seeing you. Sounds like you're having a party over there. Joey, where are you at, man?
I'm in my office because there's nobody here. And I'm spending my morning redesigning the mappers tool at the expense of making my PM mad at me. So having fun.
Well, I got the package that you sent, and I want to thank you again for shooting that over. If anyone didn't catch this, I was kind of Joey has a new resin printer, and he printed out some pogo holders for test points on developer boards that he printed out, and they are very, very high resolution, very nice. So I'm excited to get those into play over here.
And let me know when you drop that T-beam in the mail again.
Yeah, absolutely will. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to really see much of the tracking. I saw it, I guess, around the airport out in California, but then didn't really catch it until, I guess, the battery died.
Well, also a hiccup with that setup is that it will not transmit when it doesn't have GPS. So if it's losing GPS, say inside of a truck or something like that, adds to the challenge of getting those signals out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did go ahead and throw a display on it once it got over here, and it looks good. I think I posted it. Yeah, I threw a picture on that, and it's pretty slick. You know, it has the icon for how many satellites you have acquired.
Yeah, that's that firmware, the TTN tracker firmware that I had been playing with, and really all I did was change the labels in there. But it's pretty solid. I've got one. It's actually driving around San Francisco right now. So.
Oh, nice. What is it's autonomous now? Or?
Autonomous in the sense that my girlfriend's driving it around. So, yeah. Gotcha.
What's the hardware you're using there, Joey?
That's the TTGo T-beam. So it's got GPS and an 18650 holder and everything sort of all baked into one unit. Pretty convenient for mapping. So you can get them with or without the screen.
Is that one of the ones that are floating around through all the users? That Helium has a few trackers that are setting up to do mapping projects?
Those are different. Those are the Arduino's GPS tracker.
You have to have that sucker sitting up in your on your dashboard so that the GPS antenna could see out the windshield. Is that right?
Typically, yeah, you want it on your front dash because the tent in a lot of cars, I know, kind of fouls up. I know Joey mentioned that on, I guess, his girlfriend's car. You were having problems with, I think you were hanging it out the window. But
yeah, I was driving around with my arm out the window most of the time. That was just because, like, I don't know, I wanted to get the most of it. These days, coverage has gotten a lot better in San Francisco. It's as good as it even was before. So I don't even bother to do that now.
Do these trackers, would they be useful to stick in my shirt pocket while I was walking around the streets of downtown Denver?
Absolutely.
Thinking, what?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there are a lot. Because Denver is really not very well covered at all. It looks like you got somebody up in Boulder did a lot of coverage, and then a couple of highways, and otherwise Denver is not covered.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a peek at the Bay Area, particularly the East Bay, that's just me driving around, going to parks. I take
Right.
it with me everywhere.
Okay, well, if I guess I hope I'm on the list. I tried to go onto AliExpress.com to buy a tracker, but apparently they only have the Korean version and the Indian version. That's all they sell these days.
Hmm.
Yeah. Of I forget what you call it.
The field test device, I believe, the Arduino's field test device.
Field test device. No, let me go look. So there was some model people suggested I get. It's like, it's about $40.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking about different things here then. There is a GPS cube cell over on Parley Labs site that I know quite a few people are using for tracking.
Oh, okay, maybe I'll try that. I was thinking there'd be a okay. I'd have to build a box around it and such, or that's basically
Yeah.
just chip.
Well, electrical tape, whatever you want to go with.
Yeah.
As
Or
fancy as you want to go.
Ziploc bags have proven popular recently.
Oh, okay. Oh, custom construction. Gotcha.
Fun story. Ziploc bag is what kept my tracker alive last weekend when I fell in the bay. So.
Yeah, tell the story. I want to hear about this.
So my girlfriend's gotten into stand-up paddleboarding, and through that, I've also now bought one. So we were out last weekend in the San Francisco Bay, and so I'm taking it with me as a means to sort of map the shoreline and area around like the Port of Oakland and things like that. And I thought I was getting pretty good at it, so I'm out there just standing up paddling away, and stopped paying attention for a split second, and before I knew it, the board was out from under me and I was in the water. Phone in my pocket, like keys and everything. So fortunately, I kept everything. I had the GPS tracker in this jacket, in this pocket, but in a Ziploc bag, and so it survived. But I doubt it would have been very happy in the salt water. But I also breathed into my lungs and everything else.
Wow.
So yeah, those were some hard-earned hexagons this past weekend. It was fun.
Oh, that's great. And what you were saying just a moment ago about coverage in Denver, you were referring to the fact that like on the ground tracking or mapping isn't really available at this point. Not that actual coverage is, because Denver has.
Oh, no. I wasn't talking about the coverage. I was talking about the mapping. I mean, I know we've got some coverage. I mean, it's spotty in some areas, but where I am, I think it's somewhat spotty. I mean, it's sort of the southeast. But no, the tracking, I think, but the mapping is really only done northwest part and toward Boulder a lot, and then a couple of the interstate highways, and that's it.
Gotcha.
Discussed on the Discord channel for mapping already, but wouldn't it be great? I mean, it's already a great Pac-Man kind of game to go out there and see how many hexagons you can light up, right? But wouldn't it be great if Helium had some sort of promotion to help create their mapping system and like gave you a data credit for every hexagon that you light up? Data credits? Oh no, we can always make more.
Yeah, one data credit's worth what, 1/1000th of a penny?
Oh, it's something that has been discussed. The issue is if we incentivize the coverage mapping, it becomes very easy to game the system. Right now, we don't require authentication, authorization to submit mapping, and with your GPS and your coverage figures into the system. It's just kind of a good faith setup right now, and it has been operating well. Based on that, like gamification of certain aspects. I've discussed this on this call in the past, and that's something that I really I enjoy playing with. I know a number of people have been working on hide and go seek or those type of games using trackers on the Helium network. But that's why it's not being applied, I guess, directly to the mapping.
Yeah, my thing of game is that I like to encourage myself to do more some walking. So it'd be a game for me walking around downtown, seeing how many of the hexes I could fill. I mean, I need more exercise.
Yeah, so Travis, I agree with you on that. I can see very easily, given the endpoint that's provided to you for the mapper service, I could easily sit down in a few minutes and write a script and light up the whole country if you wanted to. But I'm also assuming that some common sense safeguards are being taken place. And so, for instance, I wouldn't, if I were Helium, I wouldn't allow a hexagon to be mapped unless that report came in through a host or through a hotspot that's within that area. I mean, why allow somebody to attack the endpoint directly, right?
I know, Joey, you've been working with Kent on some of this, on the mapping, on the interface there. And if you want to speak on this, there's also, I don't know who caught this over this past week, but Skippy is Happy dropped an interesting app interface into coverage mapping.
Joey, I was just saying that we should, we should incentivize mapping such that, you know, it becomes a game to go out there with your car or walking or whatever and try to light up as many hexagons as possible. Not that you'd ever recover your gas or your time, but it'd be something. And just to get some data credits or something like that. And Travis rightfully brought up the possibility of gaming the system and whatnot. And I understand that's a challenge. I could easily sit down and write a script real quick to light up the whole country, but that's under the assumption that the endpoint that's provided for Mapper is open on the web. And I haven't tried that. I'm a good guy. But if the code were such that the mapping point had to come through the hotspot in that area, then that would cut back a whole heck of a lot of that gaming.
That is somewhat true. The problem is the security is actually at the endpoint, because you could create packets that made it look like they were going through certain hotspots. I think it's good. Like, I see where you're coming from, but on the flip side, I think it's good that the coverage map is agnostic of any sort of reward, so that it can be sort of a true test of like actual coverage. And then there's never any of that fear of people trying to game it. I guess if we wanted to, like, we could set like bounties or something like that, and it was just, they would be sort of handed out manually, so that there, you know, it's not an automated thing that somebody's just going to go and, you know, write the script in a night.
Yeah, I'll throw one more comment out there, and then I'll leave this alone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rat all you guys on this, but no, I would just have the endpoint locked down to only receive queries from the Helium,
Right, some
Helium network.
validation. Yeah, I think we already need some of that. Like, I've noted on the Discord channel, it looks like somebody has sneezed all over the map. There's like all these dots all over the place that aren't actually supposed to be there. Playing around with, this is kind of what I've been playing around with today. Let's see if this can work. It's just reconsidering how the mapper application can be more mobile friendly and sort of tailored to the use case of mapping. I've really only just started. I've mostly been working on my computer doing reference stuff, but I've been playing around with the idea that like we could gamify it in a sort of like totally inert way. So like whenever you are the first person in a new box, you get a little like achievement unlocked kind of thing, but it doesn't actually mean anything. There's some kind of fun angles that way that could just be like rewarding in their own sense.
Yeah, it's funny, anything coming up with Helium, we end up wondering about how we could deal with the gamers. It seems to be a thing, but I wonder if, turn it around slightly, if this is possible, how about a bounty on people who are doing the mapping who prove that hotspots aren't where they're supposed to be? I don't know how to do it, but that would be possible, but that might be a nice game. Useful.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly discovered plenty where they're either not there or they're off.
Yeah. So if you could show that while it shows to be broadcasting, and you're there when it's not, ding, you earned a token.
Yeah, and there's some issues come along with that as well.
Yeah.
If we're incentivizing, you know, sneaking around someone's property, you know, to prove that they're cheating the system.
I wouldn't suggest trespassing. I'm talking about driving by in streets.
I don't know. I guess I
What?
I prefer the more optimistic approach, is just to prove the real coverage, because any of those that aren't really doing anything aren't really earning anything either.
Right.
So I don't know. It's fun. I definitely recommend getting into the mapping thing. I've mostly done it just by building my own devices. It's pretty cool to get out there and kind of really see the real world. If you pull up Cargo right now, the device Mapper 0 is stuck in traffic, it looks like. It's just, I was just flipped over. I was talking to my girlfriend. So she's trying to navigate her way through San Francisco. She just said, oh yeah, fuck, it's terrible. So it's nearly perfect coverage, which is really impressive to see. Pretty cool.
And earlier when we were talking about the Adrenus device, the field test device, this is what we were referring to.
And the purpose
Yeah.
of that is?
It's just another form of a mapper. So the device, the T-beam that Travis showed before, those are the devices that I'm using. But
Yeah.
the ones that Helium sent out are that one he just showed.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Both do the same thing.
Okay, so roughly the same price point too?
No,
No.
orders of magnitude.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think these are about just under $400.
Okay, cheap, not me. No.
Yeah, so which makes it about 10x what the T-beam being about 30,
Yeah.
$35.
That's playground money. Yeah.
Yeah,
$400 is starting to get a little serious.
right. Especially since I don't really understand what it offers beyond the having the firmware preloaded on it. So
Yeah.
T-beams are pretty good.
However,
You know.
it's
Or
funny
the,
that those $30 that starts to add up as well when you start playing with this stuff. So
oh
What,
yeah.
is more, well, only, I would imagine each person only buy one. How does it add up?
Well, they add up personally. I bought one and then I bought more and then I
Oh,
bought
okay.
more.
Okay.
So,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So you got that tracking monkey on your back. Got it. Okay.
exactly. Yeah. Or device monkey, whether.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
I had a mapping question I wanted to ask. I'm actually driving around right now doing Christmas shopping, but also mapping. Is there any benefit to, if I were to say put a magnetic mount on top of my car with like any of the rack antennas, any powerful antenna, and hook that up to a mapping device?
You'd probably fill more hexes, but it starts to fall outside of the scope of like real world devices, since most don't have those, beastly antennas on them. So I think most of the little like dev board antennas seem to do a pretty good job of being in that ballpark.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've exclusively used the Dragino LGT 92 so far. Does a good job. But it's pretty annoying to have to wait a minute in every single spot that I drive to. So I was
Oh
just trying
yeah,
to think of
because the
different ways
interval's
to,
pretty low on that,
But you
right?
can't adjust the intervals?
well, hold on. You're talking about your GPS antenna? Because that's different than what Joey's talking about. Like your satellite acquisition, that's not something that we really need to keep on the same metric like we do with the LoRaWAN. Typically, with LoRaWAN, we want to keep it at about 2-meter height, so you're not in an airplane unless you. But I guess now being able to push altitude through, that's not as critical anymore. But if you want to put one of those GPS magnetic antennas like out the sunroof and just throw it on the top of your car. I do that. I absolutely helps out to throw one of those active antennas up.
I'm gonna turn my camera around and see if I can show you guys how I have my setup here. I just use painter's tape and tape this thing to the windshield of my car.
Gotcha.
And I get a couple of odd looks, but other than that, I don't mind odd looks because I'm driving around in the dark, so who really cares?
I've had people stop me in public because I carry this thing around like a detonator. So
Yeah, I've had some strange encounters at airports. This is a company Taugless, which I really do like their antennas. And you may have seen these on the back of a lot of police cars or sheriff constable cars. And this is a wideband antenna that covers a very large amount of frequencies, but that actually kind of screws down into the actual metal, and then you have another piece that comes through on the other side. Is how that mounts, and then you just have an O-ring. for that to seal down, and then it makes it very hard to get off. This particular model is called the Shockwave, but these are nice antennas. If you're looking for, it's not necessarily appropriate for mapping, like Joey was talking about, but they are pretty handy. And Taugus has a full line of antennas that you can go to their site, and I believe they have an antenna finder utility that you can use depending upon your application. But they have a lot of ISM band antennas available.
Yes, the Dragino 990 LGT 92 that I've been looking at, and it seems like all the vendors on not Amazon, on Alibaba have it out of stock except for Indians, Korean, and I think I saw one other funny country, unusual country, but no, America 915 US ain't there. So that's what I was looking for. So I'll look for what he's got over there at Paisley or Parley, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe he's that's super nerdy over here on Discord, and I believe he's restocking with quite a few new GPS boards here shortly, if they're not up already.
Right. He does have the WisBlock stuff in stock, but we need somebody to pull some good firmware together on that.
I'm trying to make this plug and play. I don't want to spend a lot of time, building something and loading up. Just want to stick in my pocket and go.
But it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Well, I'm having fun right now building my DIY after all these months. It's finally coming together, and
good,
yeah,
excellent.
Trying to prevent myself from destroying it in the process.
Joey mentioned the WisBlocks, and which I'm very excited about. I see Maria is on the call. She is over at Rack. This is one of the WisBlocks. This is their solar case. That this is set up to be a BLE gateway. We have a solar panel on this guy, and then I know I've shown these before, but if you haven't seen it, this is an environmental sensor with just a little cover to mount this, to a wall. And just some power leads that I have. I was doing some current measuring, like we discussed last week on that. But I know we've discussed that on this call. We're going to have kind of a special announcement coming up here soon. I know everyone loves that term around these parts. On developer kit for Helium. And so keep your ears peeled. It's some very exciting news, and looking forward to having that out in the hands of our developers.